Wait, what about weird?
Hi, I'm Echo.
And I'm Elena.
And this is our podcast, What About Weird? A podcast discussing all things weird from cryptids and aliens to strange science and unhinged history.
This week we're going to be diving into some ghost stories. We talked about our thoughts on ghosts last week, but it's time we're digging into the stories. And what are ghost stories without a friend? So I've brought in a very good friend of mine. Say hello, Ari.
Hi, I'm Ari. I have ghost experiences.
Same.
Seen them.
I have like zero notes for this episode too because we're just winging it. So I'm like, all right, what's next? And then I like go to tab over to my notes and I'm like, I don't have any.
My notes are just the notes from last week. So should we get into some of our ghost stories, or should we?
Yeah.
We have a little game we could play if you guys want.
Do we want to do
wanna
the
start
game
with
first, or do we want to like share our own experiences?
I think we should let's do the game because the game is Elena came up with this cute name. What is it, like Hoax or Believe the Folks?
Yeah, it's called Hoax or Believe the Folks. So I have a whole bunch of like hauntings and ghost stories and stuff, and then a couple of different types of ghosts written down on slips of paper. We'll draw them out, read them, and then we'll say whether we think it's a hoax or we believe the folks. We're kind of going to do this rapid fire.
Oh, so some of them aren't real, or
some of them aren't real, but it's
believable. Like
they're all like, if you look up ghost story cases, they'll come up.
Okay.
Some of them are, you'll recognize some of the names from horror movies and stuff, and then some of them are like types of ghosts, like the white woman stereotype, the hitchhiker ghost stereotype. Like there's like a type of ghost. Does that make sense?
So the hoax is
It's just whether you think this. We'll say whether you think this is believable or not believable.
okay.
Because there's plenty of ones that I've heard that it's supposedly real, and I'm like,
Really.
I call bullshit.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
And we might have to, like, I don't know, some of these are a little obscure, so if we need to, like, I don't know, look some of them up because somebody forgot something.
And half of these we've written down and are like, wait, what's this? I was writing these down on papers, and I was like, I don't know what this is. And I know I put this on here.
That's funny.
So,
All right, let's shake that mason jar.
get some audio in there.
Oh, some ASMR. Some acrylic nails on, so.
Okay. Do you want to do the honors as our honored guest?
Wow.
Also, I have terrible handwriting and stopped giving a shit, so.
Oh boy. Okay.
Enjoy reading that.
Type. Residual haunting.
So that is like, do you know what a residual haunting is?
I don't think I know.
It's when someone was in the house and there's sort of like an imprint of, it's the ghost equivalent of, you know when you get something burned onto your TV screen?
Yeah.
It's the ghost equivalent of that.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a type of ghost. So do you believe that, or do you
Yeah.
think it's a hoax?
Oh, 100%.
100% believe it?
I
I think
believe
so,
it.
too.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing.
Okay.
I know, coming from personal experience.
Okay.
Your turn. Can you read my handwriting?
Yeah, it took me a
I
second.
just don't know how to pronounce this word.
Let me see.
Skeleton or Borrego?
Borrego. I didn't know that's how you would say that. That's how I would have said it.
How does a
but
Borrego?
The Borrego Desert.
Wow.
The burning skeleton of the Borrego Desert.
That's feels
So
like a
it's-
legend to me.
Yeah, but it came up with a lot of ghost stories of I don't rightly remember the story, but it's literally what it sounds like, a burning skeleton wandering around the Borrego Desert, haunting the Borrego Desert. Do you think it's...
I'm 50. I'm 50-50 on
50-50?
it. Because
Yeah.
I could also think it's real, but I could also see some deadhead and tripping on shrooms going, I saw him, man. He was real. And it's
He was
like,
on fire, dude.
All right, Guru Hashish, calm down.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same... I feel like it's more of an urban legend.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would say it's not necessarily like a concrete thing.
Yeah. Okay, my turn. The ghost hitchhiker as a type of ghost.
I believe it.
Oh,
I think a
those
lot of people,
Yeah.
especially in
stuff.
Appalachia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it, and like nobody really hitchhikes anymore, and we always talk about, Victorian ghosts, but how many ghosts that are closer to modern dress wouldn't you notice because they're dressed in just a t-shirt and jeans, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
that you just wouldn't notice.
There's also so many times where, like, even I have, like, passed somebody walking on the side of the road. I pass them, I look in my rear view, they're not there anymore.
No,
yeah, I've had that too.
100%.
Yeah, so
all
there's
the time.
Oh yeah, no.
So definitely on that. Okay,
Yeah.
your turn again.
C'est moi.
We're just gonna go in a little circle,
C'est moi.
and I have a whole bunch in here. We can stop whenever we want.
Whaley House.
Oh, so the Whaley House is this haunted place in California.
And it wails.
Oh, I thought it was just houses.
I think that's just the name of the house. I don't think it's
It's a house haunted by 2 sperm whales and a beluga. Oh no, don't set off the dog.
Oh god, shoot.
Don't set off the dog.
Forgot about the beagle.
It's where boat thief Yankee Jim Robinson was hanged, right on the
Where
grounds.
what now?
Where boat thief Yankee Jim Robinson was hanged.
What in the old timey ass name is that?
Yankee Jim.
Yankee Jim Robinson. That's
what they call me.
I wish I had a name like that.
Oh. We don't have good names anymore. Society went
back
downhill
Yankee
when we're
Jim.
Not, when we're not named things like Yankee Jim
I
Robinson.
feel like,
That's at least 100% real.
was that his
Yeah.
actual name, or are they describing him as a Yankee?
It's a descriptor.
Yeah.
Like Janet with the tits.
Because it's capitalized, so I'm like, it's gotta be.
Karen from finance.
Yeah.
But I guess it's like a really, really big place where, I don't know, ghost hunters go and
Yeah,
stuff.
I've heard of it. Isn't it like a touristy place?
Yeah, very
As soon as you
touristy.
get kind of touristy, I'm like, I feel like this place was haunted, but you're just kind of adding to it.
Yeah, I feel like it is haunted, but you're
Yeah.
you're not making it great.
Who just-
milking it.
You just did?
I did.
So it's your
Whaley
turn,
House,
Echo.
the sperm whale house.
Whale house.
You just hear.
Is this supposed to be the word orange?
No, that's literally how it's spelled. Orang. Orang madame.
Orang?
Yes, it's a ghost ship. It's
How come
orang,
I'm
like
only
orangutan.
pulling ones
From?
that I have no fucking idea what these are.
It's a ghost ship out in the South Pacific.
Oh.
And
I
it's
1000%
orang like
believe in ghost
pronounced
ships.
like
Yeah, ghost ships
orangutan.
are real.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Turn. Black Monk of Pontefract,
Where's that? Where's that from?
Britain.
Yeah. British ghosts.
Hoax Britain.
Oh, hoax. It's England. It ain't real. It's America.
I think every single square inch of England is so haunted. You could. Be
Oh,
like, it's haunted by literally
God,
anything, and I'd be like, yes.
It is such a tiny island too. Like it is just plagued with riddles and curses.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Old Victorian children named Bartholomew.
Yeah, I definitely believe that one too.
Yeah.
The ghost of Bartholomew out of this.
God. Let me give it. Okay. Lady in White type. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're. It's so vague. It's such a trope.
Yeah, it's such a trope that there's got to be something to it, you know?
Yeah, like I feel like. Have you seen the show Ghosts from
I've seen bits of it.
BBC?
Yeah, I've seen bits of it with you.
Yeah. Oh, God, I love that show. 100%, you should check it out. The British version. The American one's okay, but the British version is the same people who did Horrible Histories and all that stuff. Funniest cast ever.
Okay.
But one of the characters is like a lady in white archetype, but not. She's kind of in gray, but she's like an old.
Yeah, but that type of the
Edwardian.
woman, the scorned woman type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's very British.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a famous Miss Winchester. I think is that
I
ghost.
think
There's
we
a
have the
famous-
Winchester house in here.
Yeah.
Ooh, do we believe in Lincoln's ghost in the White House?
Yes.
Yeah. Old Abe Lincoln.
I feel
I don't know. I feel like
I feel like everything that I don't know about the White House, but I do think Lincoln's ghost is out there because
100%.
all the things like unfinished business, violent death, perfect time period
I'm
for
gonna-
way into spirituality. I could see that there's a ghost there. I don't know about in the White House.
No,
but
I
I definitely think Lincoln's ghost is out there because it's just the perfect making of a ghost.
Yeah. Lincoln is somewhere. I just don't think at the White
Yeah,
House.
I don't think he's in the White House either.
He's haunting a top hat
I
somewhere.
don't.
Honestly.
Ooh, you're gonna like this one. John Lennon haunts Manhattan.
Oh yeah. 100%. That weird little old man. I hate John Lennon, but as a huge Beatles fan, I should answer this question. Yes, that man haunts that.
I put that one in just for you.
Thank you. That man haunts Manhattan for sure.
That man haunts me now.
He's like
just as is.
He's real. He's like some guy's like walking by his like Manhattan, and he just goes, "Imagine all the people."
Ooh, I'm John Lennon.
I'm John Lennon. Hello, John Lennon of the Beatles.
Imagine if I was a ghost.
But he's like really weird with it because it's John Lennon. He wouldn't be like scary. He'd just be really weird and uncomfortable, and you're just like, all right, get away from me, please.
What are your
You hate
thoughts on
women.
John Lennon's ghost?
I've never been to Manhattan.
Me
but
neither.
I've never been to New York City.
Okay, I could believe it. I do want a little evidence first, though. I need to go.
There's a whole bunch of like
check it out
pictures and
myself.
stuff online.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking crazy.
I also
Okay.
like to think that he's a menace, and like anytime Paul McCartney's in town, he's just like, "Whoa, Macca!" That's because we used to call Paul McCartney, and he's like just bothering the shit out of Paul McCartney, and just Paul's going, "John, are you there? Who'd you do?" And Paul McCartney.
This episode has just devolved into Beatles impressions.
Ringo.
Okay, you have to read the next one in a Beatles voice.
Ringo, star of the Beatles, peace and love. All right, we got haunted houses. Do
Just
we
in
think-
general, yes.
Yes or no?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
duh. No more Ringo.
No more Ringo.
No more Ringo.
Fuck Ringo.
Fuck Ringo. But yeah, haunted house, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's duh.
Also, there's a lot of these in here, so we can either stop or we can make this a really long episode. I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm not editing it.
I'm not editing it.
All right, the Sally House.
What is the Sally House? I've heard of it. It's one of those in California, yes?
No, I think this is the one in Kansas,
Carrboro.
isn't it?
Oh.
Maybe?
Yeah, in Kansas. So the legend is that a young girl named Sally died there after a botched emergency surgery, and the house is now haunted by her ghost. So it's called the Sally House, and it's like another one of
Where
those
is
like
it?
really big touristy locations in Kansas.
I think it's a mix of hoax and believe 'em.
Yeah. I'm
like
sure
I
there's
said-
yeah.
Anytime you get haunted, anytime you get like touristy with it, I'm like,
I also feel like once it gets touristy, ghosts don't really like that. And they
Yeah.
just kind of are like,
Yeah, my thing is, I
Yeah.
don't necessarily know if I believe in the ghost thing, but a lot of people actually say that it's not a ghost. Like, the ghost is like the story behind it. They have to have like this legend behind it, but what it actually is there's a demonic presence in the house. They tried to explain it away by being like, oh, a little girl died here, that's just her ghost.
oh, so like Amityville?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, I have Philip the Imaginary Ghost.
yeah,
If he's imaginary, he's even...
he's real.
He's
He's real.
So the Philip experiment was this thing where a bunch of people were like, what if ghosts are just everyone telling ghost stories and creating their own ghosts? So let's just try to do that. And they conjured
Oh,
this.
yeah.
They like tried to do and conjure this ghost they named Philip. Basically, is the short
Did it
form.
Was this
work?
like is this a psych?
Supposedly, yeah.
A psych research?
Yeah, psych research.
Yeah, that actually is a really formal psych major and
I'm just gonna sit
Psych
over
degree.
here with
Yeah.
my
yeah.
other stuff.
It's gonna be a horrible joke. Inside joke.
Yeah,
but
keep it inside.
that's an inside joke. But yeah, I could see how that experiment could happen of like,
Yeah.
you know, because I do believe in, you know, paranormal activity and stuff like
energies
that,
and stuff.
manifesting. But like, I can like,
Yeah.
you can psych yourself into
it
believing
kinda connects
stuff.
to that-
100%.
Oh, yeah.
That whole
That's why
theory-
placebos work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it kind of connects to that thing of like, of when people are like, oh, ghosts are just the female pubescent rage of like with the Bell Witch
yeah.
and stuff like that. Should we do maybe a few? We have a whole bunch here.
Yeah, you put a
So maybe
lot
we
in
just
there.
do a few more
Yeah.
and then move on.
Yeah. Oh, doppelganger.
Believe it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I have a doppelganger. Yeah, I will go out in public and people will be like, "Oh my God, hey, so and so," and I'm like, "No, I'm sorry."
I've run into my mom's doppelganger before. Like when I was a
Oh.
kid, I got separated from her in the store. I ran up to this lady. I was like crying. I'm like, Mom," and it wasn't my mom, but she looked just like my mom.
Mm-hmm.
In all fairness, a lot of people look like my mom,
Mm-hmm.
but I swear it was right on her. It was like her.
Yeah.
And I saw the other day actually. I saw someone who looked almost exactly like someone I know. Broke down on the side of the road to the point where I almost made a U-turn to go help him, and then I realized it wasn't him because he had like tattoos and stuff that this person didn't.
Yeah.
But it was so weird. And like the same car, just in a different color. There's also a doppelganger type of ghost where it's like you come across the ghost of somebody or you see your own self.
Or it can manifest in like, I know this happens to a lot of people where you hear somebody's voice, like you know it's that person's voice.
I've encountered
but
that
they
before.
haven't actually
Are
said
you guys
anything.
ever going to do an episode on sleep paralysis?
Probably.
Yeah.
Can I please come on that sleep paralysis episode?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yay.
Your turn.
Right.
You'll do.
I'll do one more and then you
we'll-
do one more and then
We'll call it.
quits.
Ooh, Robert the Doll.
Who's Robert the dog?
Super creepy doll that's supposedly haunted and will
Yeah.
sometimes grant people wishes, sometimes not, and he's
Ow.
and will move shit around and just like do shit.
Meh.
Just haunted doll.
I
Super creepy.
feel I'm a little dubious of haunted dolls.
Yeah.
I don't
I think
know why.
dolls are just creepy, and I don't know if the doll is haunted. Maybe there's a haunting near the doll,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
I'm dubious of haunted dolls.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What do we think about like spirits haunting objects in general? Like we think.
I
this
think
is-
that's.
I think that's plausible.
I believe more energy is connected to
Yeah.
it rather than a spirit, but that's just my personal
Yeah.
opinion. Last one. It's upside down. The Stanley Hotel.
Oh God! Isn't that?
Don't you have a story of the Stanley or no?
I mean,
Or is that a different one?
I went to the Stanley. Stanley's in Estes Park, Colorado. So
Yeah.
and it is a very big.
That's
like,
the Shining Hotel, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about the Stanley Hotel is there were no actual, like, nothing violent really happened there. There wasn't any, like, traumatic deaths. Like, there's no reason for that place to be haunted. But what they kind of say is that all of these people, like, enjoyed the Stanley Hotel so much that when they died, they wanted to make it their permanent residence.
Oh, so kind of like some of the ones in the hauntings in Chapel Hill we talked about
Yeah,
on the last
exactly.
episode,
Where
where
it's-
it was just like, this professor liked teaching at UNC so much that he just stayed. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay.
It's like a lot of people that worked there. There's like 2 people that work there that are like ghosts that are supposed to haunt a place, or like several people that stay in certain rooms where that was their room that they like to stay in that died, and they're said to have haunted that place. But yeah, so it's the Shining Hotel, and when I went there, I didn't really have any like haunted experience. I did have like a really bad nightmare while I was there, but I think that was just the circumstances. I'm like, oh, I'm spending the night in like
The
this haunted
Stanley
place.
Hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't
Did
personally
it involve
have
blood in the
anything.
elevators by chance?
Yeah.
No, it was about werewolves.
Where there
I have dreams about
twin
blood in
children.
elevators now, but that's for other reasons.
Did you see 2 little twin girls go come play with us at Go?
Should we? That's a good segue into our own personal story. Should we do that, or the ones that people have sent us?
So what's the story? Are we going like one person at a time?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, am I going first? Okay, hi. Well, so my ghost story is actually, I have a few.
We'll just take turns doing because I also have a few.
Yeah, because mine are like, it's with the same ghost. But like, so.
The same ghost?
Yeah. So,
Oh, the same. You have multiple with the same ghost. Not. I know you have like, some experiences with the same ghost as me,
Yeah.
which is why you're here.
Yeah. A lot of my stories, the stories that I wanted to share, like, because I thought a lot about what the stories I wanted to share. This story, we'll get into this. So I moved into my current place, like, about
2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago. And I noticed there was, like, a really weird presence in my house. And it always, like, lingered, like, between the kitchen, like, and I found out she's, like, the ghost in my house, my current house, is like this elderly woman who smokes cigarettes a lot and like died.
Oh, cigarette mom?
Yeah, she like died in the 80s, I think. Yeah, she would linger between like the front door and the kitchen. And sometimes she'd migrate into the living room, but she always stayed downstairs. Like whenever I go upstairs, like she's never there. Partly I think that's because my altar's up there, you know, or whatever. But like,
Maybe she's just respectful of your space.
oh,
'Cause
that yeah.
I've encountered that with ghosts.
Yeah.
I can get into that. But
And she bothered us a lot more when we first moved in, and then we kind of like made peace, and then like we're cool now. But yeah, I remember like I would see like a figure just like walk into the kitchen, or like I would walk into the kitchen and I would like feel a presence, and I would turn around and nobody would be there. Like, I feel like someone... So, at this time, an example of that is at this time, my ex was living with me because they were trying to be outside of the... trying to get out of a toxic situation with their ex-roommate. And I remember I was in the kitchen, like, cooking something, and they were, like, talking to me. But I was facing the stove cooking, and I, like... could have sworn they said something to me, and I turned around and nobody was there. Like, I felt an entire body just next to me, and the entire time I thought it was my ex. But
Weird.
yeah, it was really creepy. I screamed, and my ex looked at me like I was crazy, and I was like, I thought you were right there.
That would really trip me out too.
Yeah.
Because you know when somebody's standing there. Like, you can tell.
You know.
Even if you're not looking at them, you can feel them.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I had that experience for like the first like 3 months living in that, like living in my house. Like, I'd be in the kitchen and I would just feel another body next to me. It was really weird.
Weird.
I had a friend who I like. Did you come to my housewarming party?
I did not
No,
know
you
because I
didn't.
had to work like a loser.
But yeah, I had a housewarming party, and my friend looked at me and she was like, "Oh yeah, I see the ghost that you're talking about." And I was like, "Huh, neat." I have another story, but I'll segue that.
Do you want to go or shall I? Echo.
Either or. I have no preference.
Do we want to talk about the ghost at our work?
Yeah, we could. What is
Jeffrey?
it, Jeff? Yeah.
Jeffrey. We've both. I don't know how much you've encountered, but I know I've encountered quite a bit. And part of our job, we have to work on weekends, and there's not a lot of people there. And so you know who's there, how many people are there. Occasionally, people will walk through, and I've been working, and I've seen someone walk through, and I've looked over, and there's nobody there. Mm-hmm. The other person is right next to me, or the other person will be on their break. There's normally 2 to 3 of us on weekends. The other people will be on break, or I can see the other person, or I'll know where they are, or I'll hear someone say. I've heard coworkers call my name or say something, and I've been like, "What?" I've gone up to them and been like, "You keep calling my name. What do you want?" And they're like, "I haven't called your name at all."
Oh.
And you know how, there's a certain point where when people are joking with you, they'll start to crack a smile. Mm-hmm. But it's not that, and it
was like a genuinely like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
We've had stuff fall. You've encountered that.
Yeah, and like not like a little thing like a pen rolls off the counter. It's like
it's far from the edge.
Yeah, we have like these things that are like made out of metal, like they are fucking heavy,
and it's away from the edge.
Yeah,
by like
and I've
a
seen
foot.
them get like pushed off of the counters, like just come off of the counters.
Jeez. Then one time, going back to working on the weekend, I was talking to my coworker. We were trying to communicate something, and there was a box on a shelf above her head with, like, they had the little wings up on it, and so nothing could have easily just toppled off. And I watched a tiny little box, maybe about the size of like a ring box, pop up like it had been underhand tossed out of the box and land like behind her. And she screamed because why wouldn't you? But I watched it just like, because it couldn't have.
That could kill someone.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a little. It was just like I said, little about the size of a ring box.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, yeah.
And it was no way that could have just fallen off, or it could have been propped on something, because both of the all of the wings were up, so it would have had to,
something had to move it.
And I watched it pop up over and land behind her. It was so weird. And then that's happened, and we have to print labels out. Sometimes the printers will print out an extra label if you have to replace the label stickers and stuff. It'll print out an extra one from what you just scanned. But we had been doing stuff. The last shift had been in there, and they had left. Nobody was on this one computer for like 4 hours. And I am just walking by this computer, and the printer prints out a label. Nobody's touched this computer for 4 hours. It prints out a label. And then it prints out another one on top of it. And it prints out another one, and it just stops.
What did it say?
It was just like a regular label with a barcode. Just like a regular, but nobody had touched it.
And there was none in the queue.
None. The computer was off. The last person had logged out 4 hours ago. Nobody had touched that computer for 4 hours.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah, and
creepy.
like we'll see stuff, we'll hear stuff. The story I was told, somebody donated blood and then got in a car crash, but it wasn't because they had a response from being low on blood. Somebody hit them and they died. Because it wasn't due to the blood donation, we were able to keep the blood. And so that's where their last living tissue was, and so that's probably why that place is haunted. That is what I heard. And somebody named the ghost Jeffrey. That's what I've heard. But yeah, everything, technology is weird, the doors are weird. I've gotten stuck in the elevator before.
Yeah.
I think we all have.
Other coworkers have gotten stuck in the elevator before, too.
Getting stuck in an elevator is terrifying.
It's so scary. I was going down to drop some stuff off in the warehouse, and I pressed the button to close the doors, pressed the button for the second floor. The doors closed, the doors opened. The doors closed, they opened. Over and over again. And I'm like, I'm taking the stairs. You have another, you said you grew up in a haunted house, yes or no?
Yeah, I would say it was haunted, mainly because it's pretty, like, I don't know, impossible to explain these things away otherwise. I know that my neighborhood was built on top of, like, old mines, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but there's, like, this pool up the street that they had to, I don't know, remodel it one time because they were scared it was going to, like, fucking fall into the old mines that our neighborhood is built on or whatever. So that could factor into it. But I just remember when I was younger, we had, like, this washing machine where it was, like, an old school washing machine where you, like, twist the knob and then pull it out for the washing machine to start.
Yes,
So
my
it's like,
current washer is like that.
yeah, so it's not like you can bump something on accident and start the washer, but the washer would start randomly. Like, it could be like 2 a.m, and the washer would just start. Obviously, like, really difficult to get the freaking washer started because something literally has to turn the knob and then pull it outwards. Not like pushing in, but pull it out.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the washer would just start randomly for no reason. That only happened, I wouldn't say like a handful of times growing up there, but enough to where like my family would talk about it. And then we also had like the pictures in my house would move locations, and not just, I don't know if the house rattled or something, they would like shift a little bit. Like,
But it was like, it's on this wall, and now it's on that wall in a different room.
It'd be like, my mom always has pictures and little picture frames on like china hutches and stuff. It'd be like the stuff that was sitting on the china hutches or on the TV stand or something. They would like swap places, and then my mom would wake up the next morning and be like, "What the fuck?"
I have some similar stuff with my haunted house story. I'm gonna let you finish.
Yeah,
And
it
then-
was basically that, and then I also spent like a lot of time at my grandparents' house, and nobody ever died in the house that I grew up in, as far as I'm aware of. So I'm not really sure like why all that activity was happening, unless I don't know, some minor
cursed
died.
mines.
Yeah, but my grandparents' house, on the other hand, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents growing up. They actually, someone did die in their house, and he was like a really big smoker. And so when I'd be
It's
over,
back to the smoke. My story also has to do with the smoker.
yeah. Weird. Maybe he like smokes cigarettes. You're gonna haunt someplace.
Oh, mine also does deals with smoke. It's smoking. Like the sense of cigarette is like a really good indication of a ghost.
Yeah. We talk about mine. I'm gonna because nobody in my house smoked. My dad had quit smoking before me and my brother were born. My mom did not allow anybody to smoke in the house, even if like friends smoked. You had to go and stand in the yard, not just out front of the porch. And I would smell cigarette smoke in like the office space and like the kitchen. There's certain rooms I would smell it really strong. Like I just walked through a cloud of smoke. But
Yeah, it'd be the same. So when I was at my grandparents' place, my grandparents have never smoked. Their neighbors never really smoked. I never saw their neighbors smoke ever. And then even my mom, like when my mom was pregnant with me, she stopped smoking. Like, and she was very aware of like staying away from cigarette smoke while she was pregnant. But like my mom was telling me about how she, like when she was pregnant with me, she would like stand, like be making something in the kitchen at my grandparents' place and smell like heavy cigarette smoke, like somebody was standing right next to her and smoking. And I remember going to visit my grandparents as a little kid and like smelling cigarette smoke and wondering like, my grandparents don't smoke, where is this coming from? And even my grandparents would mention it on occasion. They would like pass through and they would smell cigarette smoke passing through the kitchen, and they would just be like, "Oh, haha, it's just like the old man that died here."
well, there was a phase when my parents thought that as like a 15-year-old, I was smoking cigarettes because there would be cigarette smell in the house, and they're like, well, it's not us. So it must be one of the kids. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, it's not. And they've commented on it, and like, I remember asking as a kid, like, who's in the house smoking?
Yeah.
My mom's like, I refuse to let anybody in this house smoke.
Yeah.
So
Super fucking weird.
Crazy.
Yeah, other than that, I think the most, like, crazy experience I ever had in my house, like in my parents' house, was near Halloween. We had made pumpkin seeds after carving pumpkins, and there was, like, this big-ass bag of pumpkin seeds, like, just one of those, like, gallon Ziploc bags. It's, like, half full of pumpkin seeds, and it's, like, sitting on, like, farther back on the counter, kind of with a bunch of other snacks. And I'm, like, walking away from where the snacks are at, and it, like, launches off of the counter and at me. Not just falls off, it, like, launches, and it launches, like, halfway across the room at me. And my stepdad was standing right there, and so I, like, turned to him, and I'm like, did you just see that? And he was like, yeah, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. I told my mom when she got home, and she still thinks that we're, like, fucking with her to this day. But yeah, that's probably the weirdest thing that ever, like, personally happened to me in that place.
Yeah. The smoking thing. Have you shared a story yet?
I shared the one about work, but I can go again because I haven't done a personal one. So, the house I grew up in, I didn't know this until I was older, but the previous owner had died in the house. Mm-hmm. And then my parents bought it. He had just not murdered or anything, just died of natural causes.
Yeah.
But I would always, like, joke as a kid that the house was haunted because things would move around. My mom would get upset with me of not putting her art supplies back when I take them, and I put them back. And I know I put them back, and I know I have ADHD. I know I'm not the best at putting stuff back, but I would always be sure to put her stuff back. I would put it back. And then she's like, where are those scissors, those specific scissors? You took them last. Where are they? And she would, like, be like, okay, let's go through your room and see if we can find them. Not in my room. And I would have used them in my room. So where else could they be? And then we'd find them somewhere that they wouldn't make sense, like in the bathroom or something.
Weird.
Or we would look the whole house and then find them again where they were supposed to be. And I was like, see, I told you they were there the whole time. So a lot of stuff like that. It was an old house, we'd hear creaking. I talked to my mom about this, and I was telling her that I would hear doors opening and closing, and she's like, oh yeah, I would too, but that's just the house settling. I'm like, okay. I was like, have you experienced anything? I was asking my mom if you experienced anything else, and apparently when me and my brother were younger, we would go out into the yard and talk to somebody that wasn't there and, like, wave at people, and I'm like, yeah, the house is definitely haunted, and my mom's like, oh, you were just weird kids. But so there was that. I would smell the cigarette smoke. I would hear, so we never had a cat. Mm-hmm. My dad is allergic to cats, so we never had one, but the previous owner did have one. We know this because there's a kitty litter pile out in the yard.
Yeah.
But I would hear meowing in the house, which was weird, and I would feel, like, I'd be sitting on the couch, I'd feel something land next to me. You know how it feels when a cat or a dog hops up on the bed next to you? I'd look over and nothing's there. Some of the craziest experiences that I had was that I would be home. I spent a lot of time as a kid home alone, and sometimes I would hear knocking on my bedroom door. I was like, oh, my parents are home, they must be knocking. I'd go, yes. There's no response. Mm-hmm. Or I'd hear my mom calling my name, she's not home. But a number of times I would hear knocking, think it was my parents, and say, come in, and I would see, like, a light squiggle go across my room and then disappear. Weird. Which was really weird.
That would make me so uncomfortable because I would think that somebody had broken into the house or something.
Oh, yeah.
Well, sometimes I wouldn't know what time my parents were going to be getting home. And I would just assume, oh, they got home early. But what freaked me out was that I would hear the knocking, and then after I said, come in, I would see the light squiggle. And it was just, like, enough of a light squiggle to be like, oh, maybe it's my eyes playing tricks on me. But it was distinct enough to be like, wait, what? Mm-hmm. So there's a number of things that could just be, house settling, like some of the creaking, some of the doors would open and close because of the way the house, like the air flowed. Yeah. And I know that because you would feel the breeze and then the door would close, and that was when we had all the windows open. Mm-hmm. But, like, those are some stuff that can't explain.
Creepy.
Yeah. Anyways.
I guess it circles
It's
back
your
to
turn.
me. Yeah.
Tell us
okay.
your other story with your ghost.
Oh yeah, this ghost. It kind of goes back to the smoke thing. Is I have a very good friend of mine, and we were hanging out one night, and we were sitting in my living room, and we both like felt a presence in the room, and it was weird, and we were just like, "What the hell?" And then like here's the couch. Obviously, this is recorded, so trust me.
There's a couch here.
There was a crowd. Like we're sitting on a couch against a wall, and on the I'm trying to remember the layout. I think it's on the left side. There's like a table, and my friend was sitting on that side, and there's no ashtray, nothing, and he looks at me and he goes, and I'm sitting right next to him, and he goes, "Do you smell cigarettes?" And I go, "No." He's like, I smell like intense amount of cigarettes in my nose, and I'm like, weird. Do you want to like swap seats? And he's like, yeah. I sit down. He stops smelling cigarettes all entirely.
You're hit with it.
I'm hit with cigarettes, and it's like a 5-inch difference, maybe even less. Mm-hmm. And like we could both feel like her energy just like passing back and forth, going in the living room, checking us out, and then like walking back into the hallway and then going back in. And it was like this, like we were being like paroled, you know.
Weird.
Really weird. This ghost was very like,
I think she's just a cigarette mom.
she's a cigarette mom who I have a sneaking suspicion she had bad house owner experiences, and so I'm getting a sense she was dubious with us. And I was like, "Hey, Gertie. Hey.
Hey, girl, hey.
Hey, girl, hey. I'm chill. Like, don't mind me. I'm just gonna exist with you.
I'm just vibing.
We're just vibing. Don't mind me." And then like she's left me alone since. I haven't seen her in a long time. I sometimes sense her energy around. My house is it's so funny. To me, my house is cursed. And to my roommate, the house is amazing. Like, it's a blessed house. And I find that so weird.
Well, that kind of, because with your roommate, we've had experiences at Dorothea Dix Park, which for those who don't know is a mental hospital that's been converted into a public park.
In Raleigh.
But we've had experience where you and I were like, I'm getting bad vibes from this energy. And your roommate is like, this is so serene and peaceful and wonderful. And I'm like, get me out of here or I'm going to throw up.
Yeah, we would like, because what used to be the hospital were like previous, like, what used to be the hospital is now like current like government facilities.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, we would walk past there like, and it would...
Specifically the graveyard.
Yeah. Oh God, that mass grave.
Yeah, there's like huge. There's a big graveyard there, and we used to be roommates, me and Ari, and
my roommate
and Ari's roommate, and we would go and hang out there a lot, and we would like walking around and stuff, and then our roommate at the time would be like, let's go to the graveyard. It's so nice and peaceful, and Ari would just be like, my skin's crawling. I would get hit with that sense of when you stand up too fast, and like you've been out in the sun for too long and then got back into really cold AC. So internally I'm hot, externally I'm cold, and I just feel sick.
Yeah.
But they were like, it's so calm and peaceful and serene, and I like hanging out there, which I've gotten that feeling from other graveyards that it's calm and peaceful and serene.
I get that with like
that
Oakwood.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a graveyard up the street from the house that I grew up in that I'd go and hang out a lot because it overlooked the lake and it was so peaceful. But no, not that one.
No, and to be fair, like, it is understandably a very off-putting place because that graveyard that we were talking about is not like really a graveyard, it's a mass grave.
And they just have like a sign there that's
Yeah.
like, but I've never even gone into it because I just feel like I'm going to throw up as soon as I get to the little walkway to it.
My roomie would, we would go to Dorothea Dix together and they would just be like, oh, I want to like look at the mass grave, and like she would feel so peaceful with it, you know? And I'd sit there and I'm like, all I can feel, because the mass grave is all of the patients that died while in the hospital, and because mental health back in, like before Dorothea Dix, like mental health.
Well, this is a relatively new. Like have met people who are still alive and practicing who worked at that hospital.
Yeah,
Jeez.
But that mass grave was like the reason why it's called Dorothea Dix Park is because like back in the day, you know, mental health facilities were very were awful.
It's where you stuck someone to die.
Yeah, it's like
to forget about them.
This person is quote unquote crazy. I don't want to take care of them anymore.
Or we don't know how to handle them.
Yeah, and so they would just chuck them in these facilities, and they would basically be sleeping in their own shit, and it was like, and then they'd die because of maltreatment.
Yeah,
and then they would just chuck the bodies in this grave, you know?
I mean, you know the story and it's really eerie, but I did not know that was because you have to go up to see the sign, and I couldn't even get to the sign, and I was like, I'm not going over there.
Yeah, it's
like the first time we went, I don't know if you remember that, but we went and I was like, I'm not going over there, let's go over in this flower field.
Yeah, the flower field's great, but
yeah,
you're not
I have seen some weird shit there. I've seen, I don't know if there's, since it is government facilities, I don't know if there's people there, but I have seen people moving around in the windows and stuff.
At night or during the day?
At night.
Oh, then that's ghost because they're government facilities, so they're going to be working 9 to 5. Because that's that's
but
an
also
office space.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but it's, I don't know if it, I was like, oh, it might be a night janitor, but I've seen it sometimes. I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah, it's no, I don't like going there at night.
But yeah, I'll go there in evening and when the sun's setting. And if I go there at night, it's exclusively the flower fields.
Yeah, even the flower field at night is kind of especially when the sunflowers are up.
Yeah,
walking through them at night. Remember when we were all joking that we felt like we were being hunted?
Because we did.
Yeah. I don't think my roomie did, but definitely we did.
Yeah.
I have a friend or a former coworker who made ghost hunting videos, and we were talking about Dorothea Dix one time, and he was like, I refuse to do Dorothea Dix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll do, I've done some paranormal investigating for people, but that's only people's houses. And if I were to walk into somewhere that feels like parts of Dorothea Dix, I would be like, you're on your own. There ain't enough sage in the world for this shit.
No, that place it's beautiful, but it is also devastating spot to be in.
Yeah, that's why I don't go to Stagville at night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I accidentally, there's been a couple of times when I've gone through Stagville at night just because they were doing road work, and it's just, ugh. Do not like that place. Speaking of other shared ghost experiences, do you remember the Funko Pop ghost?
Oh God, yes.
Have we told you about the Funko Pop?
Do you know?
It sounds familiar, but
yeah.
I mean.
Also, I just realized I've been talking to the wall and not to the mic this whole time. So half of this conversation is going to be.
Some parts might be a little quiet.
Yeah.
Sorry, but so the Funko Pop ghost. We used to go. Ari, and one of our friends would go on little adventures to different places, and we went on a mini day trip to the Cryptozoology and Paranormal Museum in Littleton. It's a tiny little place. It's interesting. It's a cool little stop. But the guy there gave us those, was it EFM? The electro... EMF, that's it. EMF detectors to go around, and he told us the stories of all these things and let us walk around, and he has different things they're supposedly haunted. And they go off here and there, and then we got to he had ghosts, he had a little... what's it called? Gift shop that had paranormal and cryptozoology themed gifts, and there's a wall of Funko Pops. And as soon as we walked over, the EMF detector just went off like crazy
for the Funko Pop.
And then we turn it to the there's some hay lift that 4 people hung themselves from, and go beep beep beep. Back to the Funko Pops. Beep 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 beep.
This is crazy.
It's just wild.
That place is just ominous for not paranormal reasons, but just...
It was just a warehouse at the side of the road that this guy put a bunch of stuff in, which...
Yeah.
It was interesting.
If support that guy, but also... you expect odd vibes and not The fun, spooky kind.
Not the fun, spooky
Odd
kind.
vibes.
But yeah, I have some other little stories here, but that's most of the fun ones. So shall we have some stories that some people have sent us to the email.
Yeah,
Do you
we get some
NL.
listener stories.
NL. Yes, and in the future, if anybody wants to send us emails, it's whataboutweirdpod@gmail.com. You can tell us any of your weird stories. We might put them in a future episode.
I'm gonna email you like a silly little GIF.
I would love that.
Just once every 3 days.
3 days? Okay.
This is gonna be like the only emails we have in our inbox.
This is like a weird little like meme or something. I'm like, hey.
It's just weird memes, and then I saw a UFO. Weird meme, weird meme, weird meme.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have it pulled up. I
do.
don't know if it'll let me log in on my computer while you're logged in. And also, I can't read.
I'm gonna fumble through these as well.
Okay.
Though. I'm really bad at reading out loud for whatever reason. So we're gonna see how this goes.
We'll see how it goes. I can probably pull some up on my phone. But
Yeah, if we want, because there's 3 stories. I could do 2,
We can-
and you could do 1. We could
yeah,
just
or
switch
I can
off.
read one, you can read one,
And then we could...
and Ari could read one.
Yeah. You want to do
Um,
1 each?
But
I'll just
yeah,
turn my
let's pull up.
computer.
Pick one, or maybe pick one. If you fumble through, we'll each fumble through.
Okay.
And we've said in the last episode that if you send us stories, we will omit your names, just unless you specifically say otherwise. So
Yeah.
if you don't hear us say your name, that is why, because we care about people's
Privacy.
personal privacy.
All right, so our first story here... Let's see.
We've not read any of these. I just saw people send them because we
Yeah.
wanted to read them blank. And
We're going in blind, so somebody could have sent some crazy shit, and I don't know.
We're like,
Yeah.
whoa, can we post this on the internet?
we might, yeah. So we'll see.
Saying we like I'm an actual host. Like,
You're like, I'm taking over this podcast.
surprise!
This is a coup. They're
This
being
is a
kicked out.
coup.
This is the Ari podcast.
This is the Ari podcast where we talk about random things, so get ready.
It's the podcast where I scream into the mic for
And then
30 minutes.
cry for 5 hours and say it's
a live
art
stream.
piece. It's a live stream of me crying, and it's symbolic.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay. The house I grew up in had a bonus room over the garage, where my little sister was born. Oh, fucking fuck. I already fucked it up.
McFucking.
Okay. When my little sister was born, that room was turned into her nursery. One night, when she was about 3 or 4 years old, she woke my mother up to tell her that someone was in her room. My mother, in her sleepiness, asked my sister to describe what she saw. My sister told her she saw a man standing over her bed who had yellow eyes and a mouth with no nose. My mom put her back to bed, and that seemed to be the end of it. Fast forward a few years, and my sister and I switched rooms. I was probably 14 or 15. I woke up one night for no particular reason. I rolled over on my other side, facing the closet of the room. Standing in front of the door, I saw a tall yellow outline of someone, or thing, with glowing eyes and mouth and no nose, just as my sister had seen a few years before. I saw it for only a moment, but it faded away, and I never saw it again. When I was about 16, I was driving around with a bunch of friends one night in a place called Nag's Head Woods.
Oh my God. Nag's Head. Where
Is that?
I saw a UFO at Nag's Head. That's where we went to the beach. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the place where like I was asleep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And also with this being, I have seen this. I was having reoccurring dreams of this, and so was your roommate. Do you remember this? We were telling each other ghost stories. I had told Ari this story, and Ari goes, hang on, I know someone with this exact story. And the way that it lined up was this person had stopped having these dreams right like a week before I had started having mine. And it's this exact same thing, but it was in our dreams instead of when we were awake.
Where it's like this man with yellow eyes.
Bright yellow eyes.
And the mouth with no nose.
Yes.
Whoa. That is weird.
That is so weird.
I'm gonna look up now. If this is like a reoccurring thing, or like if this man is a legend of some.
Yeah,
variety.
you do that. You keep reading. But
Okay.
that is so weird. I just thought about I wanted to say that thing about the dream stuff, but then you mentioned Nag's Head, and I was like, oh. And one of the things we didn't read in this, in our little cup of Hoax or Believe the Folks, is stuff relating to Nag's Head and Cape Hatteras.
Interesting.
So-
Okay, well, maybe that's a future episode. Okay, but anyway, so when I was about 16, I was driving around with a bunch of friends one night in a place called Nag's Head Woods. It was a small road that wound through some old neighborhoods near where I grew up. My friends and I knew about a clearing there and went to make trouble or whatever you do when you're 16 and bored. In this clearing was a small tool shed that looked like it hadn't been used in a long time. We decided to peek our heads in to see what was inside. Old toolboxes, lawnmowers, and various litter was scattered around the floor and shelves. We were all stacked in the doorway because no one was brave enough to actually go inside. After a few moments of peering in, a can full of nails on a shelf flew across the shed and exploded against the wall on the opposite side. I have never run so fast in my life. We piled in the car and peeled out as fast as we could. Ooh, and then they include at the end, look up the Goat Man of Nag's Head Woods.
That is what
Is that what you
I was
on
gonna
the
put in
paper?
here. I just have Nag's Head, super haunted. Interesting. What did you find?
I'm getting like some spiritual
Stuff from
things.
the show Supernatural.
I got Supernatural, and I also got
because
some
I was
liver
having
issues.
liver issues.
Yeah. They got liver issues. I'm like,
The ghost of liver issues. The ghost of alcoholism has come to
how's
visit.
your liver doing?
There's this group on Facebook called Did You See That? In North Carolina, and there's like a whole thread about seeing the Goat Man of Nag's Head, I guess.
That is cool.
There's a whole.
It says there's a small yellow hunting cabin located in Nag's Head Woods that is rumored to have once been the home of the Goat Man.
That's so weird that it connects to
Yeah, that's creepy.
our stuff. That's
creepy.
That was really weird.
That is
That was
so
absolutely
weird.
bizarre.
Yeah, that's.
All right.
Thank you for sending that one in.
Yeah, that was amazing. Okay, am I gonna read the next one too, or
You did so much better than I would.
Well, fuck it then.
Do you remember the last time I tried to read something? I was like, I'm going to read this quote. And fuck, I'm not going to read this quote. So you just keep on reading. Keep on
All right.
going.
Keep on.
So, all right. So this is our second listener who sent in stuff, and they included a whole bunch of different stories here. So this should be really interesting. One of the earliest experiences I ever had was when I was 5 years old. My grandpa had just passed away, and my family had gotten back into town after his funeral. My dad decided that we should go on a walk together down the street, and as we were coming back, my siblings and I raced to see who could get home first. I ended up winning the race, and as I opened the door to our family room, I saw my grandpa standing in the doorway of the hallway next to a shorter woman, looking at me with a smile. Both of them were slightly transparent. I was 5 years old, so I turned around and got the hell out of there. I ran back to my parents, saying that there were people in the house, but nothing really came from that. A couple weeks later, I was looking at pictures of our family that we had on the walls. I noticed a woman. It was the woman who had been standing next to my grandpa in the hallway. I got my mom and asked who she was, and I found out that she was my grandma. I had never met her before, and I feel like she was smiling because that was the first time we saw each other. Oh, that's so cute.
Aww.
All right, later in the same house, when I was about 16 or 17 years old, I was up late on the computer. It was 3 in the morning, and I was watching a video on YouTube when I felt a hand grab onto my shoulder. I jumped and looked at my shoulder to see my shirt lift slightly and then get tucked down twice. I sat in shock for a moment, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The thing that freaked me out the most was that it was a warm, caring feeling. I didn't feel scared. I actually felt really comfortable with it. The more I thought about it, the more I felt like a family member was saying goodbye. So I went and woke everyone up in the house to make sure they were all right. I really want to figure out what that was. I would too.
I've had
crazy.
a similar experience to that.
Yeah.
I had a very. This is a tragic story. I had a very good family friend pass away a couple years ago from a heart attack, and I remember like hearing the news, and I was like sobbing in my bed, and I could like physically feel him and hear his voice like next to me saying, "Hey, I'm sorry I have to go, but I wanted to say goodbye. I love you."
I got chills.
Yeah.
Literal goosebumps from that.
Yeah. It was very intense. I will never delete this off my phone. I have a voice recording of the last time he called me to sing happy birthday.
Aww.
I'm gonna cry. Anyways, I also have a memory of when my dog Loki died. We told them not to tell. We had to put him down because he had a really bad stroke, and I was like laying in bed, and I knew he had just passed because I could feel him like curled up in like my chest, like right here.
Gosh, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. All right. Okay, well, this person goes on to say, one other crazy thing that would happen in that house was something that not only I experienced. There was a bedroom in our basement that throughout the years made many of... Wait.
I'm sorry.
Throughout the years...
basement bedrooms are always haunted, even if your house isn't.
Yeah.
My grandparents have a basement bedroom, and it's a pretty... They're the only people that live in that house, but I'm convinced that that's haunted. I have no proof, but if you're sleeping in a basement, it is.
I always had basement bedrooms at my dad's house, and they did always feel like kind of eerie, like they were haunted or something.
It's the
My
dim
grandparents had that.
But continue to be definitely haunted basement bedroom.
The years, many of us had made our own rooms. First, it was my parents' room when my grandparents were still around. Then it was my sister's. Then it was mine. One day, my mom's sister and I were talking about an experience my mom had in that bedroom. Almost every night, she would feel someone sit on the end of the bed. The presence would stay there until she asked it to go away, and it always did. My sister and I freaked out because both of us had experienced that multiple times too. We never talked about it until that moment, and it had always only happened in that room. All right, next one. There was one time that I was taking a walk at a park called Raven Rock with my friend. This is still the same person, but like on to their next story. We had got there about 30 minutes before the sun went down. The path was a circle, so we just wanted to walk it and get back to the car. We got about halfway when I got this really deep gut feeling that I was being watched. I tried to play
Being washed?
Watched.
You're being washed on the trail.
Whoa! This person's being washed on the trail.
I tried to play it cool because I didn't want to panic my friend over nothing, but I noticed that they were looking around a bit freaked out. I told them that we should turn around because it started to get dark and we didn't know how much of the trail was left. They agreed. We made our way back to the car. When we were driving away, I said to my friend, "So when we turned around, I wanted to because I felt like we were being watched. I didn't want to freak you out." She turned to me and said, "You didn't see them?" I said, "See what?" Then she said, "There were shadows peeking around the trees all around us. They had yellow glowing eyes, and they were all looking at us."
The yellow eyes again.
It's the yellow eyes.
This is so weird.
Weird.
Guys. Whoa.
Weird.
Shivers ran down my spine when she said that. I completely believe what she saw because I felt them watching us. I have not gone to that park since then.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
This makes me wonder how many people have very similar experiences, but we just don't talk about this stuff. Like, it's just not normal to talk about
No,
these
I'm
things.
sure there's...
Well, no. Because it's like, ghost stories are a little bit taboo.
Yeah, that's why we're not using people's names and stuff. But, like, you don't want to become the ghost person, generally. Mm-hmm. And also, like, you can be the ghost person, but you're the person who's seen a ghost or seen something, and everyone's like...
Well, there's the ghost person again.
Yeah, and if you're in with a group of friends and, you know, you're like, "Did you guys see that?" You don't want to be like, "Oh, did you see that? Did you see that?" Or you don't want them to label you as, "You saw a ghost," or, "Oh, you're just playing with us," and you're like, "No, that I saw this and it really freaked me out, guys," and they just don't believe you, you know? Mm-hmm. So there's like a certain sort of unspoken taboo about this.
Yeah,
Which is why it's good to have weird friends.
Really, that you can open up with. Yeah,
so you can be like, "Did you just see that thing fling across the room?" Yeah, cool. Anyway, moving on with my day.
There's even things in families where, like, multiple people in the same house will experience something, but you
yeah.
never know. Yeah, nobody will talk about it.
Yeah. Like, I didn't know the stuff that my mom had experienced in our house until I was asking her about it.
Mm-hmm. Weird. All right. This is the last story. So, last story I'll go into, I was living with 2 roommates in a 2-story house back in 2019. One of my roommates was out of town, and the other was up in their room. Earlier in the night, I had fallen asleep on the couch watching a show and woke up around 3 a.m. As I was waking up, I heard a girl say, "Hello?" I responded, "Hey," but she didn't reply. I didn't think much of it because at that point, my roommate and I really didn't like each other, so I brushed it off, grabbed my blanket, and brought it up to my room. I noticed that the light in my roommate's room, the one who wasn't home, was on. So I opened the door and I turned it off. I shut the door and went back downstairs to get the dogs. As I got to the last step, I looked through the window into my backyard and saw a transparent girl standing outside. I walked up to the window and could see completely through her, but I could also see her at the same time. She was facing away from me, and I noped out of that situation by lowering the blinds and locking the doors. I gathered the dogs to go upstairs because I wanted to forget what I had just seen. Then, when I noticed my roommate's light was back on and the door was open, I knew I had turned it off and shut the door. As I was paying attention to that, my other roommate's dog ran past me to go to the bed. As the dog ran up to the door swung open before it even got there. My roommate was asleep and couldn't have opened that door. At that point, I was shaking. I closed the door and then went to my room. My dog sat up, staring at the corner of the room for the rest of the night, wagging her tail at nothing. I did not sleep and kept my lights on for the rest of the night. But this listener said, I've definitely seen a lot of things, and if you want to hear any more stories, feel free to ask me. I have a bunch more, not only mine either. My family has some crazy ones,
Please
too.
send them.
I'm actually good. I know I'm not going to say their name, but I do know this person. This is a good friend of mine.
That one.
The living ghost of Bob Dylan. I'm still alive, but somehow I feel dead at the same time.
Bob Dylan haunts me.
He does. Timothy Chalamet's Bob Dylan haunts me.
I have a story that someone shared with me. It's not typed out. Do we want to read? I know we have one more story.
Yeah.
Do we want to read that, or shall I share mine?
Yeah, go ahead and share yours. I need a break from speaking.
Okay. Drink some fluids.
Oh.
You're allowed to
I can have more fluid up there. I'm just waiting to grab it.
So this was told to me. I don't have it written down, so hopefully I'll remember it. So the story was, the person that told me this, they said this was years and years and years ago. And they were staying at their boyfriend at the time's house. And they'd been going through a lot in life. They were sitting on the bed and they were crying. Mm-hmm. And they did that thing where you cry, and then you wipe your eyes, and you go back to being social and pretend like nothing happened.
Oh yeah, been there. Did that.
We've all done that. But then night comes. They're laying in bed, just kind of staring out at nothing, and they see this man. He says, "Why are you sad? Don't be sad. It's not becoming of you." She blinks, and he's gone. And she is like, what the fuck is that? The next morning, she asks her boyfriend's mom, because her boyfriend was living with his mom at the time, and she was like, oh yeah, that's the last guy that was here. He committed suicide.
Oh my God.
Like, she described it, and like, to a T. And she was like, she's like, that was so weird. I got chills hearing that. And I don't think that the phrase, don't be sad, it's not becoming of you, can come off like, you would look prettier if you smiled, but she was like, I heard it, I didn't feel it that way, I felt it, and the tone was like
coming from me.
Yeah, and the tone was like, don't be sad, this isn't the type of person you are. Mm-hmm. And she was like, it was so weird, I was going through so much, and describing this person, hearing her boyfriend's mom be like, no, I know who this is, having that second confirmation. Mm-hmm. And it's weird to me that it's from someone that committed suicide, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. But so that
kind of gives you a perspective.
Yeah, it's just a small story, and I don't remember all the details, but that's yeah. When I had asked this person if they had any ghost stories, they were like, no, I don't really have any, but I have this one. I was like, well, I guess we all have some.
I guess that leads into another question, why did I say question? Another story from someone else. I also know.
Okay. You share, and then we'll go back to unless you have some from someone else, and we'll read this last one.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for this last one.
That's
the one I think it is.
This person, when they were a kid, was playing with a Ouija board, and it spelled out their name. Immediately, they were like, I'm a go now. I don't feel welcome.
Yeah.
So,
Understandable.
anyways,
Alrighty.
These are all so crazy. 'Cause
I know.
I've had like little shit happen in my life. I've never experienced paranormal like this though. That would scare the shit out of me.
This is why I wanted to start a paranormal podcast.
Yeah. I just love hearing other people's stories too.
Yeah.
It's so
Let's read this last
it's
one.
so cool.
Yeah.
So it's from last person. My entire life, I have always believed in spirits, ghosts, etc., but never had experienced anything paranormal. That is until I was in. I don't know how to pronounce.
Is it Okinawa? Is that it? Or no?
Okinawa.
the
Okinawa, yeah.
air base?
No, the. Ooh, I don't know because I'm reading it like it's.
Cadena?
Oh gosh.
Cadena?
Cadena.
Do your best. I'm sure we'll get.
So apologies for the.
Yeah. Apologies for mispronunciation.
Yeah. Cadena is.
I don't know very many air
whatever it is.
bases, so we're gonna say Cadena Air Base, located in Okinawa, Japan. Before I was assigned to my main base, I heard stories of ghosts in Cadena Air Base. And when I got there, I was told more history about the base and a particular crime that repeated in the same room, in the same building. I wanted to say it was a murder-suicide. Eventually, the building was demolished and the space remains vacant of any structure. It was never confirmed if the building was destroyed because of the incidents that took place there. My experience, however, is one I will never ever forget due to how incredible and frightening it was for me. The dormitory I stayed in had stories of ghosts, but I never thought I would be... It's lucky, but then there's an un in parentheses before it, so unlucky to experience it. I wasn't harmed, but it sure is scary. There were two of us in the dorm, and we were on opposite shifts. He was mornings, the day shift, and I was afternoon, the swing shift. One morning, my roommate wakes up to get his day started, and this is approximately around 4:30 in the morning. Being a light sleeper, his careful commotion woke me up. He apologizes. I say, "It's all good. It's all good, man. Have a good day." And he went on his way. Now I have a hard time going back to sleep once I wake up, so I change to lay on my left side, bring my blanket over my shoulder, and get into a fetal position. As I lay there to fall asleep, my covers were casually pulled off my shoulder. It shook me. I was freaked out. I thought to myself, what the fuck? What just happened to me? I texted my buddy who was currently on the morning shift. He was surprised that I was awake so early, and I told him about my experience. He thought it was wild that it happened to me and was freaked out for me too. Then I called my wife. She couldn't believe that I had such an experience. She asked if I was okay, and I was. I was just frightened. But I'm glad it happened because now I have a paranormal story to tell after believing in it for my whole life. Out of all the things that could have happened, it had to be while I was trying to get some sleep. Oh, that's so
Ain't
relatable.
that just the way?
Oh my god damn it, I'm trying to sleep right now. Ghosts, fuck off.
Real.
I don't need a paranormal alarm clock.
Paranormal alarm clock.
So all those years hiding under the covers is a lie when it comes to ghosts. They'll just remove the covers. At least I wasn't dragged
Is it
off the
Drill
bed.
Sergeant Ghost?
Get your ass up, soldier.
That one is pretty good too. Okay, that was a good one to end on because it was less spooky and a little like...
It was a
Goofy.
lighthearted.
Yeah. Okay.
But that was all of these are great. All of these
Yeah.
are wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody who sent us in a story or shared a story with us.
All right.
Alrighty, do we have any other closing thoughts or anything?
I don't believe so, unless somebody else has anything that they want to mention last minute.
I'm starting to just think about my demons experiences, but I feel like demons and ghosts are like a totally
Yeah.
We'll do a different
Yeah,
episode
that's
on
it.
Yeah,
those.
it's not,
you-
a demonic presence is so different from like a ghost presence.
You know, I have demonic experiences.
And I have some thoughts on demonic possession, but that's for a different time.
That's a story
The
for a
ghosts.
different day.
But ghosts.
Thank you so much for listening. If you liked, please rate the podcast and share it with any weird people in your life. Follow us on Instagram at whataboutweirdpod, where we often share pictures related to the episodes. If you have topic suggestions or personal weird stories, please DM us or email us at whataboutweirdpod@gmail.com. And always remember
To ask about the weird.
bye for now.
We.